The cemetery flowers hadn't even begun to wilt when I returned home after burying my husband of 46 years. My daughter Emily was standing on the front porch with a locksmith, watching him install a brand new deadbolt. 2 moving trucks were parked in the driveway, and several strangers carried my furniture onto the lawn as though the house had already been abandoned. Emily looked at me without the slightest hint of guilt. "Mom," she said calmly, "it's time to move somewhere smaller. This house is too much for you now." I stared at the front door, where my old key no longer fit. The home my husband and I had built together had been locked against me while I was saying goodbye to him. Neighbors gathered quietly across the street, too shocked to speak. I held my husband's folded funeral program in one trembling hand and realized I had become homeless less than 2 hours after burying the love of my life. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I simply reached into my purse and made one phone call. "My name is Helen Parker," and before the sun set that evening, everyone on my street learned a secret my husband had protected for nearly 20 years. David and I bought our little white house when we were newly married. We painted every room ourselves, planted every tree together, and raised our daughter beneath that roof. When Emily was little, she used to run barefoot through the backyard chasing butterflies while David built her a wooden swing with his own hands. Life wasn't perfect, but our home always felt safe. As Emily grew older, however, something changed. She became obsessed with appearances, expensive vacations, and comparing her life to everyone else's on social media. After marrying a man who constantly chased bigger houses and newer cars, she started treating our home like an investment instead of a place filled with memories. Every family dinner ended the same way. "Mom, you and Dad should sell before the market drops. You could move into a retirement community. Think how much money that property is worth." David always smiled politely before changing the subject. After he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, Emily visited more often than she had in years. At first I believed she wanted to spend precious time with her father. Instead, she kept asking strange questions. Where were the property papers? Which bank held the mortgage? Had Dad updated his will? One evening, after Emily left, David quietly held my hand and said, "Promise me something. No matter what happens, trust Officer Reynolds if you ever need help." I looked confused, but he only smiled and refused to explain. 3 months later, David passed away peacefully in hospice. The funeral was beautiful. Friends shared stories, grandchildren released white balloons, and I somehow found the strength to smile through my tears. I believed the hardest part of my life was over. I was wrong. The moment I returned home, Emily locked me out. She claimed she already had buyers interested in the property and insisted I would thank her later. I calmly asked one question. "Did your father ever tell you this house belonged to you?" She looked irritated. "It will after probate." I simply nodded and called the local police department. 20 minutes later, Officer Michael Reynolds arrived. The moment he stepped out of his patrol car, Emily confidently announced that I was confused because of grief. Reynolds listened quietly before asking one simple question. "Mrs. Parker, do you still have the envelope your husband asked you to keep?" My heart skipped a beat. I reached into my purse and pulled out a sealed envelope David had given me years earlier with strict instructions never to open it unless something happened to him. Officer Reynolds smiled gently. "Please open it now." Inside were 2 house keys, a notarized letter, and copies of legal documents. David's letter read, "My darling Helen, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I knew there was a chance someone would try to pressure you into leaving the house we built together. 20 years ago, after Emily first suggested selling our home for profit, I quietly placed the property into an irrevocable life estate. As long as you are alive, no one, not relatives, creditors, or future heirs, can force you to leave or sell this home without your written consent. Officer Reynolds has kept certified copies because I trusted him completely after he helped us during the break-in years ago. If anyone ever changes the locks or removes you from your own home, the law is on your side. Emily's smile disappeared instantly. Officer Reynolds handed the certified documents to the locksmith, who immediately realized he had unknowingly changed the locks without the legal owner's permission. Within minutes, he removed the new lock and reinstalled my original one at no charge. Then Officer Reynolds turned toward the movers and politely instructed them to carry every piece of furniture back inside the house. No one argued. Emily stood frozen in the driveway as neighbors silently watched everything unfold. She finally whispered, "Mom. I was only trying to help." I looked into her eyes and quietly replied, "Helping someone doesn't begin with locking them out of their own home." She had no answer. A few weeks later, she attempted to challenge the property documents through an attorney. Every lawyer told her exactly the same thing. David had planned carefully. The life estate was legal, properly recorded, and impossible to undo. The house would remain mine for the rest of my life. Months passed. I slowly learned how to live alone. Every morning I watered David's roses. Every evening I sat on the porch where we used to drink coffee together while watching the sunset. One rainy afternoon, there was another knock at my front door. Emily stood outside holding a small cardboard box. Inside were childhood drawings, handmade, Mother's Day cards, and an old photograph of the three of us smiling beneath the apple tree in our backyard. Tears filled her eyes. "I don't know when I became the person who cared more about this house than the people inside it," she whispered. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, I stepped aside and invited her in. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing not to let pain become the final chapter. Emily spent the rest of the afternoon helping me clean the attic, and for the first time in years, we laughed together without talking about money. Today, my grandchildren play beneath the same apple tree where their mother once played as a little girl. David's workshop remains exactly as he left it, and every Christmas we still hang the handmade ornaments he carved decades ago. Visitors often ask why I never sold such valuable property. I simply smile. A house gains value because of the land beneath it. A home gains value because of the love within it. My husband understood that better than anyone. Before he left this world, he didn't just protect a building. He protected the memories, promises, and family we built together. Every night before locking the front door with the same key Officer Reynolds placed back into my hand, I whisper, "Welcome home, David." Somehow, it still feels like he never really left.